Welcome to our Amplify Her virtual meeting. Today we talk about how to sell out your gigs, promote and sell out your gig with our guest speaker, Lorraine Solomons. I say right? Yeah.
Yes, you said it beautifully.
Okay. She's going to take over, introduce herself, and tell us all the ins and outs of promoting your gig and selling out.
It's Andrea, thank you so much for inviting me. I know I was looking forward to doing this for a little while, and it's really nice to be a part of Amplify Her. And I'm sorry I haven't been in person to some gigs because, as everyone famously knows on the independent scene, I fell backwards down some stairs at a gig and broke my ankle. So I haven't been able to come to your cocktail things like and coffee mornings. But I hope to see you again soon. I'll venture out because coffee's really good usually, so it's worth it's definitely worth coming. So just a little bit about me. Yes, I'm a live music promoter. My name's Lorraine, as Andrea said, Lorraine Solomons. My company, although I don't really kind of subscribe to companies so much, but my promoter's name is Success Express Music, and we did our first gig proper, where we sold tickets, and booked a lineup and all that stuff in 2011. So a very long time ago. So that is 13 years ago, in fact, a really long time that I've been promoting. And people asked me how I fell into promoting. I became a promoter because we were doing, I had a music shop and a music school. I'm not a musician, but I was working on, sort of working on the school and students and stuff like that, and workshops and showcases. And we ended up doing a vocal and performance workshop. And I literally fell in love with the process of seeing artists develop. I thought it was amazing. I'm really into vocals because of that, and seeing how you can take somebody from here, as a young, like, teenage artist or somebody coming back into music or any level, and taking them to the next level. And that's really my really big passion. I love. And it was very natural to want to, take those beginner artists, or wrote their first songs or whatever, and try to get them to perform at different venues and kind of learn their craft as a, kind of an apprenticeship. So I've always had that kind of view that, new artists, if you're new to the scene, or you should learn alongside people who are, a couple of steps ahead of you. That is how you hone your craft. That is how you learn your stuff. So that's always really my kind of conditioning, really. And it's really nice, actually. The next gig that I have tomorrow night, one of the artists, a girl called Lou Marie, she did her first ever show with me when she was 13 years old, and her first ever written song, and she was absolutely mind-blowing. And her and another artist, some you might know, Brooke Law, you might come across her. She's doing quite well on like Black Deer Festival, and rounding them out and headlining and playing in Nashville. It's really great to see the girls doing really well now, and yeah, I'm really proud of them. It's really great. So since then, in my those few years, I've always like doing showcases and mixing it up with artists, but also I'm very, very conscious on, how you get to the next level. But also, big venues, small venues, Jazz Cafe, Omeara, the bigger stuff in London, Pizza Express Live, where we do things regularly, but also these really small independent showcases at Karma Sanctum Soho, where we have 5 different artists all doing 25 minutes. And my big thing that I wanted to say to you is, it leads into this. I really just believe it's all about collaboration. And I don't know a better way, having been working as a promoter for 13 odd years, than us all sort of pulling our forces together, and making a collaboration and a partnership between the venue, the promoter, the artist or artists, usually more than one, and the audience. And it's really a team effort to make a show absolutely amazing. And I really do believe, when you have that right and you go into a room, it's a partnership you know, on both sides of the stage, and it's really magical. And those are the moments that kind of keep me promoting, however hard it is, you know. I love seeing that, and I love seeing people run to the front of the stage and be like, wow, when's your next gig? I've discovered someone new. It's really cool. And finding that you're the person who's forged that connection on behalf of an artist through a lovely venue and curation, or you've introduced two artists who've gone off to co-write, or, you know, something positive has happened as a result of one of your gigs. So I've done a lot of promoting. I do touring around the UK as well. I don't do lots of it, but my very big plan for next year is to try to really tackle that UK-wide touring problem that we have, because normally for artists, the whole idea is you want to perform in front of more people and you want to promote your new releases. And it's always the thing that artists feel they're very trapped in a circle, still always playing to their own friends and family, and find it very hard to expand their network. Am I right? You know, that is the key kind of thing. And we believe that taking ourselves out on tour, we'll play to new audiences in different towns, but very often end up just costs us a lot of money, and really it's kind of very slow process. And also extremely hard work to try and put together a tour if you don't have any nationwide following. So I'm trying to build a community network for 2025 called Touring Gigs UK, which is my loose working term. Well, my plan is, you know, for all the community events, those really special moments that happen around the country, that they can all hold hands around the country, and we can, you know, an artist who's at the point where they're ready to talk and come and play in front of already engaged audiences in a more kind of community kind of way, you know. So that is my big project for next year. Keep your fingers crossed for me and us, and let's hope we can do it. But in the meantime, I thought it would be really good, rather than me rabbit on, to hear from you, like what you're facing as artists when you're you know, looking to get a show, how what are your struggles with promoting? Are you having any issues with the promoters? What's your relationships like with the venues? And are you finding that the act of performing is engaging more fan base for you? So I'm going to throw it out to all of you. You know, go ahead and ask me some questions, and let's get the conversation rolling.
You can lift your hand, or you can, that's fine. You can lift your hand, or you can write it in the question and I'll read it for you. So Abby, take it on. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, this webinar's come at a really good time for me. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah.
Great. Because I've got a gig coming up, which is my single launch gig. And I'm really excited about it. I love putting on a big show. I'm a massive performer, and like performing is a massive part of my music for me, because I'm so good. Like this isn't coming from a place of cockiness, but I'm a really good performer. And I know that like when people see me, it's very engaging and everyone's like captivated by it and stuff. That's all the feedback that I've got from my performances. I think the issue I'm having is just getting people in the room to see that, because I know that if they do, it'll be great, but it's just getting people there. And also the other issue is like getting people to buy tickets not like the day before.
Yes,
a classic, because I think it's just since COVID, everyone buys their tickets last minute, which is fair enough. Like times are tough, money's hard, people don't want to commit as much to buying like a ticket. But then the issue is I'm like a few weeks away. I know loads of people are coming that haven't bought their tickets yet, but then financially it looks like I'm not going to be able to afford to pay the support acts that I have. So I guess just my question is just any advice you have really on just, like you said, promoting, expanding the audience, and just also getting people to buy the tickets ahead of time instead of the day before. Yeah.
Yeah, Abby, you said it perfectly, and it's like probably in your mind. I know you're doing the show at Peckham Audio because you invited me. Thank you very much. In October, right? Because I was trying to reply to your email, because Abby's coming to do a gig with me at Unspun Sessions anyway, and she's already told me, you know, she's doing a show at Peckham Audio and stuff, and so we were talking about it. yeah, it's a real challenge. And I think, and am I right that you've taken on, you're promoting your own show and you're not going through a promoter? Right. Okay. So I think the first thing I wanted to maybe say is this whole thing about promoting your own show versus working with a promoter, you know, the left or the right, which one is better? And it's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because sometimes I think a lot of artists think, okay, fine, look, if I don't have to work through a promoter, it's probably going to be better because I'll have more money available and I'm going to have, you know, be better money to share between the musicians and the bands, and I won't have to pay that extra layer. Now, that is, of course, true, provided you've got the same reach as a promoter. But one thing, even if you did have the same reach as a promoter, one thing that I noticed when we used to have a music tuition school, and I remember a guitar teacher saying to me, so I don't know why it is that you get more guitar lessons than I can get myself. I don't understand it. And I think one key part of that is it's a lot easier for a promoter to, you know, shout about you as an artist than it is for you to kind of shout about yourself. So I think that's one thing to bear in mind. And I'm not saying, you know, that both things work, but that is one really valid point. It's a lot of work. I do think it's a matter of the promoter you choose. I think people are so burnt by the level of awful promoters there are in London, and they're not all awful, believe me, there are a few good ones, but they're equally about 3 times as many bad ones, and the deals are awful. You feel kind of rinsed. You don't come out feeling like you've built any fan base off the back. So I think my question also would be like, you know, to be selective who you work with. But going on to the more practical stuff that you asked, I guess I need to ask you, what have you done? So I think there's a few things, like there's basic stuff when you do a show, like I'm sure Abby's done them all, but obviously announcing the show, making sure the venues announce the show, you know, utilizing a ticket link which allows you to keep data, like an Eventbrite type ticket can be very useful, but equally using something like Dice, which has quite a good kind of auto-generated link, is also useful. So if you're clever, you can split your allocation between two. That could be useful. I think engaging with your sport acts to see if they're people that but very often artists choose sport acts with similar kind of style to them, really, rather than based on ones who have a separate kind of reach to a different fan base. And that's always worth considering, you know. Sometimes, you know, there's artists who come from Liverpool who recently moved to London who've got more fan base here than Londoners, you know, it's because they haven't been seen so often, or it's just new. So that's a consideration as well. I think in terms of promoting it, I think there's this thing between online and offline. So I'd say to Abby, what have you done online and what have you done offline? So online, like for me, with things like Instagram, I don't really use TikTok. I'm not a great bandwidth, but I know for some artists it really works. It's very good for announcements. It's so having that so people know that they're going to find something in your link tree. It's very, very vital. And also for kind of the tone of the artist, you know, what style they are, you know, a bit about you as a person, a reflection of your personality, and that kind of documentation. I think it's important. But I think in terms of bringing people to the show, and I think nothing beats a personal invite. And I think that is the thing, it's very relationship driven that people come to shows. So me personally, I think when I started promoting, I had a really big jazz cafe show to do. I think I went literally to every networking thing, every meeting, every artist, whatever. And I found that sometimes people engage and kind of buy into it in the moment. They're like, wow, that sounds really amazing. Oh, I'm going to come, you know, and like, yeah, I'm coming. And they've made that connection just in this, because they looked you in the eye, thought, oh, she looks fun. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, I'll go to that gig. And I think a lot of that is very valuable in terms of one-to-one promotion. And yeah, you know, it is difficult with the advanced sales. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's just a culture, which is really difficult. But I think you just got to keep going. And just realize that a lot of that subliminal reinforcement, when you keep on re-announcing, re-inviting, find another reason to tell people about stuff, that will eventually kind of sink in, and it just gets on people's radar. So those are kind of the key things. And have you done, and I should imagine you've done all this. Have you? Yeah. Do you think, and also pricing, you know, like, it's difficult. I think it's possibly just really, I think it is just a culture that advanced sales are just really difficult, you know. And I would just encourage you just to keep going. You know, and you know, talk about your support acts, talk them up as much as possible, and encourage them to share. See if the venue can do a little bit more, maybe. I don't know how good they are at promoting, and maybe see if there's, you know, yeah, you know, I think we'll just get yourself in the coming up weeks, just get yourself out and about as much as possible and engage with other artists in your community as much as possible.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Becca, you want to take it over?
Okay, if I can work out how to. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, ladies. Hi, Lorraine.
Hello. I look behind the wheel of a car. Okay.
I am. Yeah. So I got stuck in traffic, and I was like, I'm just not missing this, so I'm just going to pull over somewhere as soon as I can, and then
I love it.
There we are. So I wear many different hats. So I'm an independent artist, and I do some songwriting stuff. I run an artist development company, and I run a headliner for a function band. Function band, we used to have lots of residencies up until the end of last year. And then last year I decided that I wanted to start doing my own ticketed events. So I had some health stuff going on, and that just gave me a bit of a kick up the bum to kind of really stretch my promoter arm. And I do a lot of, I was doing a live band open mic for 2.5 years. So supporting independent artists right at the grassroots end, giving them the opportunity to hear their original stuff played with real musicians. And we did that for 2.5 years, but I wanted to kind of grow that into showcase and take it a little bit further. So last year, after a bit of a health scare, I took the plunge and I started doing ticketed events, and I started go big or go home. So I started with a boat party on the Thames, and so I've now developed this platform that's called Live on the Thames, where we showcase 4 or 5 independent artists, sail the Thames on a boat and have a good old party. So that's kind of one branch. What I'm interested in is the advice that you was giving to Abby about those ticket sales. Would that be the same advice that you would give to a promoter? Would it be a different perspective? Because I wear so many hats. I hear the artist side of things, but I'm sitting on the other side of the fence as the promoter, and it's a hard old slog.
I know. Tell me about it. So it's the same challenge, but essentially, because Abby is essentially the promoter of her own gig, it's the same, right?
So it's the same. Yeah.
If you're talking from the point of view of selling tickets, I think this is we've got a real big problem in this industry. The venues haven't really caught up. Are so risk averse now. You know, like I was talking to Andrea about this just before, about a particular venue. They're so risk averse and want to put all the onus and responsibility on the artists, which I think is really poor. I think they should step up and do a bit more. And we all appreciate that they're all struggling, the grassroots venues, and they've got costs, and they love having guilt tripping us about all the costs and their staffing and this, that, the other. But they are a music venue, and you know, I think it's really bad when you know, some venues, it's very surprising, some are great, but I think it's really bad when it's particularly some of the small venues, like that somehow artists aren't working hard enough or aren't doing enough, whatever. It is just the market, and I think we need to have a very honest conversation between the venues and the artists, promoters, the audience, everybody, just how tough it is and what the problem is. And I think if we did, we'd all get a little bit further. If a venue said to me, look, you know, ticket sales are low, like, what do you need? Do you want me to do another post? Do you think maybe we could do a discounted thing? Shall we do a drinks? La, la, la. If they did that, you'd think, great, they're being supportive. We're all in this together. It's in their interests for this gig to be popular. I mean, there's loads of things another thing you can do, you can have seat fillers. If you're worried about I can say to Abby, actually, you know, I forgot to say, if you're really worried about the venue giving you a lot of pressure and you just want some extra people in, there's some really good companies where they guest list, you know, you can put like 10, 20 people who work for the NHS or some charity, and you think, okay, it's a better look, I need an extra, you know, handful of people in, and that we can do that. So if that is something that you need to do, you can do that. You don't have to do that, but there's lots of options. there are things that you could do if you have an open, frank discussion with a venue. And
I mean, I guess in my situation, there isn't the venue. I've taken this on myself. I've decided that I'm going to create my own music platform, and so I'm, you know, it's down to me in a sense to kind of make this work and make the ticket sales work. There isn't any help from the boat company, unfortunately. So I do the standard things like social media promo and stuff, but it is a hard old slug, and it is that last minute, holding your nerve to the last minute to see are you going to get the sales that you need.
Yeah, well, you know what I would say, and when I was like thinking about this, it's like I always think that sometimes you can get your first. I'm taking the figure 30 just for an example. It could be your first 20, the first 40. You know, it depends on the size of the event. But if you can get your first, you know, core number 20 or 30 in and committed, then I think it really makes life. Like, you know, takes the pressure off you or the venue or whoever it is. And sometimes I think, like, looking at that USP, unique selling point, like you're on a boat and it's a party. I mean, that's a really good advantage because you're doing something that unique that nobody else is doing. So it shouldn't be so hard. What I did, I have a music club that I created around my events. I started doing that in 2013. I've done that consistently on and off, and I've curated things which I presented. So I've actually worked quite hard, be it your unique mailing list or your music club or whatever you do, that I'm always have a regular following for my gigs. So I've done that, and I should imagine, Becca, that you're probably going to do that as well, because it sounds to me that you've got something unique. So what I would do is build a kind of a bit of a music club around it, and just say, oh, you know, and if you're a member of the club, you know, it's £8 tickets instead of 11 or whatever it is, you know,
discount, little incentives.
Something unique, you know, you can create this on friends of the event, or you can create that kind of vibe around it. But I would really work to the angle if you're doing something really unique, and then you can also incentivize. This is something else for Abby as well. I mean, I don't think it's a bit late for you, but like going forward on the set of events where you're encouraging people to bring somebody along. I mean, that is the golden trail. And if you get them to be your cheerleaders, it's like being an artist. You get them to be the cheerleaders of your events and go and recommend it to other people. It's quite a difficult one to identify how to do that all the time. But if people really like it and they say, oh, I heard about you from some, it might work with something like on a boat, because it's a kind of experiential thing that people go, oh, it's a bit different going along, you know, to a pub gig or a venue gig. So I'd maybe think about your first 30. What's the thing that really appeals to the people come all the time? Could it be they're coming for a bit of a laugh and it's on a boat and they quite like a free glass of Prosecco? Or is it they like the fact you're going to change it up with a DJ after? Is it whatever it is? And you know, there's lots of different, maybe you could theme it or all sorts of stuff.
So it's the bonfire night edition. So we're gonna watch the fireworks at Battersea. So it does have a real unique
Christmassy one. Yeah. Halloween.
I've been putting like money on Eventbrite advertising, not to kind of slam a particular brand, but as a small company with a small budget, it's just had absolutely no return, and I've wasted like hundreds of pounds on that. Where would you advertise? Where would you promote and push your event?
So I've stopped doing any. I think unless you've got something quite solid to promote, that you just need to put it in front of, you've got quite a big fan base, like on Instagram. Let's say you've got 3,000 followers as an artist, and you needed to tell them as a kind of signpost, and you've got a tour poster or something like, right, this is happening, and it used to be you could spend £1 a day and you tell everyone, and you think, okay, it's fine, I'll chuck 50 quid at that or whatever, I'll make it back on tickets. In my experience, I've never made a single penny back on anything I've done on Facebook or Instagram advertising. However, I know if you have very good digital marketing specialists, you might be able to. But I think the sheer point of it is that I'm really sorry to say it, nobody kind of knows who we are as independent artists. So I think it's more important to go door to door and sort of save that money. Take yourself out somewhere, take yourself to a party and go, I'm having a party on a boat. I go, oh, can I come? Because it will sound very sexy and fun. And you're probably better off to spend that money getting a video, or just even using an iPhone, getting something to edit a few bits of your iPhone stuff. All the fun you're having, and people will be more bought into that than they will with Facebook advertising. I think that's my opinion. I think it's you'll lose your shirt really quickly, in my opinion, the way things are, because it's very expensive.
You're muted. I don't know if you know you're muted.
I didn't realise it. Thank you. That's me. Passing over the mic now.
Cool. Emily, do you want to take over? Do you have a question?
Hi, yes, I do.
Hello.
So I'd love to know your point of view as an artist who's coming into a new market and kind of interacting with new promoters and venues. Do you have any kind of red flags to look out for? As an artist, I have experience in a lot of these pay to play kind of supporting acts and stuff like that, where you have to have a minimum amount of tickets sold, and then all of a sudden you're the only person who has anyone show up, and you're kind of, oh, I don't know about that. Do you have any kind of red flags to look out for, like things
Yes.
like that? Yeah.
I think you probably don't need to hear it from me. There's probably going to be a handful of people going to tell you, or who's in here on or at least one or two, I'm sure, who will say here are the red flags. But I'm sorry to say, but I would think, maybe people will agree with me, when you get contacted by a promoter, oh, we really like your music, do you want to come and play somewhere? It's one of those standardized emails. It's usually a red flag in itself, because I do think there's a fairly I mean, obviously I'm not an artist. From what I hear from my artists, it's quite a standard approach. Sometimes people are quite charming and one thing and another, and then when you dig into it, the terms are, wow, okay. It is not. I think you have to make a decision as an artist what you think is acceptable. It is expensive. Like for me as a promoter, I get very upset when people say, oh, you're not paying a fee to an artist, it's pay to play, which is total rubbish. It isn't. Look at the fact that this is how it is with the Association of Independent Promoters, which I'm a member. So this is how it stands with the MU, Kitemark, and the FAC, all the authorities, right? Okay. They call it fair pay, fair play. I think it's the right way around. Or is it fair play, fair pay? I can't remember. But essentially, you have to be paid a percentage of a ticket. So you're doing a ticketed show promoter from the first ticket sold, whatever that is, be it £1 a ticket on £10 a ticket, whether it's £6 a ticket on £10 a ticket, whatever the split is, right? You have to be paid a percentage from the first ticket sold. So therefore, if you book to do that gig and you sold one ticket and it was £5, but you should get paid that £5. There's no discussion. The cost of the event should be carried by the promoter. So when I do an event like tomorrow night, I'm very transparent about what I do. So the deal that Fabio will have, or Abby will have, I've probably sent you a deal, but whenever, it will be, I never pay less than 50% of the ticket value. And if it's a higher ticket value, I don't feel the need, if it's a, £30 ticket, to take £15. If I had somebody who could sell that much, then they'd be earning, you'd be on a different deal. It's a different type of thing. They'd probably be getting a guarantee and all sorts of stuff. But these small kind of showcases, I think it's really important that you never devalue an artist. You always pay them 50% minimum of the ticket sale. Now that informs why also, the type of venues that I can afford as a promoter to do. As you can imagine, I have to sell a certain number of tickets in order to cover the cost of the venue, everything on the other side. So I'm quite reliant on having venues who are a good quality venue to offer me a good deal. But I think it's really, really important to establish that, and for all you guys to realise that decent promoters will not ever charge you money. They will never charge you money. They'll never make you financially responsible for the gig, doesn't sell any tickets. It's your responsibility I think that it's a letter of trust I try to find between me and the artist, that, okay, there's 5 of you performing. I really hope that, we should be able to sell a few tickets each. And between us, the 5 artists and me as a promoter, maybe even the venue, by the time we add it all up together, we have a nice crew in, new fans for everyone, and that's how it should work. So that's how I think. And those red flags, I think, if you've been told you've got to sell a minimum, that is to pay the promoter. I never put the risk on the artist ever. It's very hard to keep going as a promoter in London on the terms that I do, but I have done it for 13 years. So that's a red flag. If there's a red flag, another one which are really bad, which you get with there's lots of them, underground sounds and all sorts of weird and wonderful promoters, where they will literally not guarantee where you are in the performance order until they've seen you sell a certain number of tickets, which is the most extraordinary thing you can imagine. So, you know, you could be going in thinking you're sort of folk rock, folk acoustic, you know, pop band or whatever you are, and all of a sudden it's changed. You know, oh, well, you didn't sell any tickets, right? We're going to dump you to the bottom, and there's going to be some electro act in front of you, you know, like, because they can sell more tickets. It's the most bizarre, unhelpful way to work. So I just think it's just not worth doing those things, and you have to really ask those questions. And the amount of artists that have come to me and said, oh, I've got all these problems with a promoter. Yeah, don't ever take a deal. Always be wary if somebody contacts you directly. Usually go on recommendation. There's enough artists in this group who could probably recommend promoters, and look where the people you like or are doing good gigs are performing with, because it's easy to find it on Instagram. And if people are usually, you know, it's like scams, and everybody approaches you directly, unless they look like, you know, it's a personal message or something like, oh, your friend is so and so. So some occasion I will say, you know, I really like your music. But if it's one of those standardized emails, I really would run for the hills, to be honest.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
That's okay.
Thank you. Beth, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I hope it's not a silly question, but I'm going to go ahead anyway. So yeah, this is just in general for yourself, Lorraine, like in terms of being a promoter, what are promoters like yourself looking for in artists to acquire, to be invited, to be booked? Is there a certain amount of milestones you'd expect the artist to have achieved beforehand, a certain amount of songs that they need released, or to be a certain standard or quality? And also, what is the difference between a music promoter and a live agent? That's a lot of information.
Most of the live agent, I'll come to that one in a minute. Yes, of course, that's a really, really good question, because also I get contacted, and all promoters get contacted with lots and lots of artists all the time. And sometimes their music is, it doesn't fit maybe something you're promoting, not because they're not good, or it could be that you feel they're just not really quite ready for what the kind of vision that you want to create. It could just be that they're just not performance ready, in your opinion. You listen to them, and it isn't just about the people you bring. For me, I mean, I think I have to really like somebody personally. I get a good vibe from somebody. That's really important. I have a pretty high bar standard wise. I don't do open mics, I don't do things. So when I do a showcase and people are invited onto my showcase, they would expect a certain standard. So I like to think I work at a standard where people come in and say, wow, they're amazing artists. I had a guy called Neil, who's one of the moderators for Fresh on the Net, who works with Tom Robinson. He'd never been to one of my gigs. We've known him for years. And I did electric ICMP for him, and he came along and goes, my God, your artists are amazing. I thought, how come you've never been to one of my gigs? It's really strange. But it's really nice when you people know you for the quality of what you do. So I'm very protective of that standard. And it doesn't mean an artist's not good. You could be, you know, anyway, you might just not be right, or and I think that's going to be the same with any promoter. So my advice to any artist is, you know, I think every artist should get out and perform as much as possible to refine their craft and to improve and to play alongside other artists and just genuinely, you know, rack up the numbers. The best artists I know have been performing since they were 13, 14, like continuously. And you know, it's something you absorb so much by getting yourself out and getting experience, not because you're not talented, but I think becoming a standout live performer, that's what you need to do. And you asked me about live agent versus promoter. So promoter will book venues and create shows, put on stuff with venues. A live agent tends to take artists and represent them to get them booked in wherever it is all over the country, or get them supports and stuff. So we're actually actively representing a particular artist, which I I don't really do unless I'm asked specifically to act as an agent. I mean, occasionally I had a nice thing when I represented Matt Johnson, Jamiroquai for some live stuff, but that was because I had a friend of a friend and he said, would you do it for me and stuff like that. But it isn't generally my business. I try and work on the promotion of music in general. So that's the difference. One is more general, like booking shows and promoting them and picking artists and put them on. The other one is kind of working as artists first and kind of getting them out to the venues, to the shows, to the supports.
Oh, thank you. That makes so much more sense, because I was getting confused between what they were, but that really does make a lot of sense. And it's good to know as well. Like, I know it's never personal, depending on who the promoters are or what you're kind of looking for yourself in terms of where you want to perform. And I know when we can't all be everyone's cup of tea, and I think that's where I'm at the moment. Like, I've put on my own events, and I've managed to sell 20 to 30 tickets, but I'm in the position where I would love a promoter to help me in that stage of my career. So it's good to know the differences in like the red flags that you mentioned, Emily, and also who to go to and what kind of vibe that the promoter's looking for. And another quick cheeky question. So,
Go on. Go.
So I don't have a band of my own yet, but I'm really hoping to get one day. I know a lot of us in this chat probably feel the same way. And so I accompany myself on piano a lot. I mean, as a promoter, do you kind of look for more full band acts and artists, or would you go for more of an acoustic kind of vibe? What's the kind of thing that promoters prefer and that kind of thing?
Right. Well, I think it depends on the promoter. There's plenty of promoters who really do a lot of kind of what I call band venues, and therefore they really like having a lot of bands. I personally, I do a bit of both. I tend to focus more on singer-songwriters who do have bands, you know, like Abby. We will go back to Abby there, you know, like she's a singer-songwriter, she's got a band, she probably plays solo and, you know, does a bit of both, right? It depends what she's doing. I really like working with solo artists. I think that you've got nowhere to hide, because you and your guitar, you and your piano. It's very exposing. It will, you know, you can't hide behind a load of different instruments. And often, if you put together a band, you can have a good band, you know, so it's well arranged and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be worried about starting off as an acoustic artist. I think it's the right way to start, really. Personally, don't overcomplicate it. Don't hide behind lots of different layers. Really focus on your songwriting, focus on your vocals, and I'm very big on vocals and your expression, your engagement with the audience. And even if you aren't a great musician, you know, like you play a few chords on the guitar, you might be better just have a guitarist or something and just be able to come to the front stage and perform. So I I think because I'm trained like that's my kind of background. I really do like digging into acoustic quite a lot. But equally, you know, we do big band stuff and, you know, have a 7-piece, you know, singer-songwriter band with trumpet the other day and goodness knows what else at Piano Smithfield. And so yeah, I think you're working on your craft. I think we break it down into the elements before you complicate it would be the answer for me. But equally, other promoters really do just want bands because it makes more noise and it gets more people in. I think they think.
Oh, okay, that's really cool to hear. Thank you so much, Lorraine. Thanks for answering all my crazy questions.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Richard, did you have a question? Richard?
Yeah, sorry, I was just getting the mic on. So I know this is probably like a bit of a sore spot for people, but how much influence and how much do you need Spotify to push your song, your latest single, and in order, and then that attracts promoters in order to get the gigs in the first place? Does Spotify have, is that a real game changer, do you think, or do you think you can avoid that kind of platform?
Okay.
To kind of push?
I think what you're saying is, do you think you need to have big socials numbers,
yeah,
numbers, in order to attract any attention of anyone?
Mm.
See, I think it's a load of bollocks, excuse my language, and I don't think anything to do with the amount of numbers that anybody has on socials equates to the amount of people you get through the door. And we're talking here about gigs. I know plenty of people who got, 100 people on Facebook, and barely 1,000 on Instagram, that kind of, that kind of number, less even, who just could be just starting out, who, when it comes to getting people through the door, is really surprising. Sometimes you see really underground artists who, have never done a gig before. I had a gig, a guy, he did have a manager, to be fair, but I think he'd come from Leeds College, came back, he was from London, he did his first kind of hip hop gig, and he sold out the Grace. He sold 150 tickets. It was absolutely insane. He didn't have any socials. It didn't have big Spotify numbers. Spotify doesn't do anything much for helping you bring people to the door. I know people with millions on Spotify, and they've probably got, quite big numbers, say in London, and they do advertise their gigs. Those kind of people don't come to gigs. They're surfing through the music, and it's quite nice. They're doing it while they're washing up or whatever they're doing, or it's been suggested to them, but they're not actually real listeners. They're not really engaged in your music, and they're not really going to come to your gig, I don't think. I think they might on TikTok a little bit more, because they're seeing you and they're listening to you, so it is possible to get some kind of engagement off of. I have seen people build stuff on TikTok and be able to, with very big management money behind them, translate it into a live following in a very, very, very big way. But that's a whole different topic. I think you just have to be quite DIY, is my answer to you. You have to engage with other artists, go to their gigs, work door to door, promote. Keep it small, build your block small. I think that's really important. If people really like what you're doing, they start getting involved, and you do something for them, they do something for you. I think would be my best advice at this stage. You can't be doing things in a very grassroots, like building blocks, back to basics way, and I think that's what I advise everybody to do.
Well, thanks, Lorraine.
Pleasure.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Zidnil, I'm pronouncing your name so wrong. I'm so sorry. You're on mute. Are you? Okay, 1 second. Should we go to? Oh, okay. Hi, Lorraine. I'm a software developer, an event promoter, and an amateur guitarist. I'm interested in helping event organizers and independent artists to promote their event by announcing their shows on multiple online platforms such as Eventbrite, Skiddle, Dice, Facebook events, and track sales for them. Whoa, sorry, hold on. I'm achieving this by software solution that automatically submit events to multiple sites. This strategy is trying to maximize the exposure of the event, and it's currently working well to promote classical music concert in particular. I also have the privilege to have newly established a collaboration with Andrea. That's true, we work together to try applying this strategy to Amplify Her event as well. My question is that what platforms you would announce the shows? Would you announce on multiple sites? If so, which platform worked the best? And also, forgetting the above, what do you think is the biggest challenge in music promotion?
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Thank you. Last two questions. Well, very interesting. What platforms do I announce on? So, I feel that culture is really changing. It used to be, I would always announce on Twitter, which is now X. I'd always announce on Facebook. I'd do a Facebook event, always announce, then Instagram. I haven't really, as I said, I think TikTok's more of an artist-led thing. I haven't really dug into that. I announce, obviously on my Linktree, and I do have a music club when I do announce, where I have gathered people together to announce. I put a gig on there, I post it, and also I post on my own WhatsApp community as well, because I have my own WhatsApp community, which is very useful. I would recommend everybody to do that. It's quite good. Or Telegram. But I personally am in a flux about that. So I think it's a really good question, because I think people are moving a lot like for me, I think we're all just a bit frustrated with technical platforms. We don't really find they're working or really engaging, and I think it needs to be more personal. It could be that you would come to me and say, right, okay, but have you tried doing this thing? This is a new thing, which is a much more one-to-one personal engagement. I think anything. So at the moment, I do these things. I do Instagram, I do Facebook, only because it's very old school and people do actually still live there quite a lot, and you can communicate in that old school way a bit more. I stopped using X completely because it's full of lunatics. I just found no engagement whatsoever. I really don't like the platform. And then I just use my own channels, my own community on WhatsApp. And I have a meetup group, as I've mentioned before, and I do a lot of communication there and link those things together. But so what was the second question? You said, what was the biggest challenge? What was it? Sorry,
Yeah, what is the biggest challenge in music promotion? What do you think is the biggest challenge?
I think we've all said it, advanced sales. This is the biggest problem. Abby's said it, Becca's said it. The promoters are hitting up like Emily, who got high expectations, are expecting it. And the whole scene, and this is, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because we have an existential problem with advanced ticket sales. It's really beginning to inform the type of artists who are getting booked. They got big sales, great, let's book them. It doesn't mean we're going to have a great quality artist. Those guys are getting a preferential treatment in front of people who really do have the ability. Why would we overlook the next Dylan? You know, when you're presented with the most incredible world-class artists, can you imagine? You know, like I can't think of something, but you know, somebody who's a really beautiful artist, like Joss Stone. Imagine Joss Stone walked in and with an incredible voice, like an angel, an incredible voice. And we didn't know her, and she was under the radar. She thought, I want to come do a gig. And they said, well, can you sell any tickets? Oh, she hasn't got any advanced tickets. Let's chuck her off the bill. I mean, you know, you could have a world-class artist in your room. We cannot run our shows this way. We have to base it on the quality of what we put together, what we create, and get the audience to come and watch it. And it's very, you know, we all have to be partners in this. It's ridiculous. Culture has changed with advanced sales, and although there was a big burst after the pandemic because everybody wanted to go out, now it's not happening. And I was just saying to Andrew, had this whole incident I had a venue just a few days ago where they were like, oh, I can see you've got a show coming up in just under 4 weeks. You've only sold 6 tickets. You might have to, if we don't sold any tickets by, 10 days time, you might have to cancel it. And you're like, but you've only just put up the ticket link. You got the ticket link wrong. You've got everything wrong. And now you're putting us under pressure and kind of shaming the artists because they haven't protested, which is your fault. We should got to work as a team together. And I think we need to have an industry-wide conversation about advanced sales and how we can all help each other. And maybe, Andrew, I don't know if you've got any ideas on this, but I really, really would love to open that conversation up more, because I think it's putting all these guys under so much pressure. And I just feel we could just be so much more productive and positive if we could just try to communicate a bit more with all our partners to really help everyone and ultimately help the venues, help the artists, and not make the audience feel like they've been hounded to death and guilty because they haven't bought a ticket simply because they don't know their work shift or whatever. It's just ridiculous. So that is the biggest problem, I think, our culture with advanced sales and how we became a culture of advanced sales on the independent music scene, when there's truly not we're not got Taylor Swift demand where we're going to sell out, So I think we need a reality check.
Yeah, I agree. It's about working together. It's a very difficult point in the music industry. It's very hard to collaborate with venues that, like you said before, would do deals with you, work with you, offer something that won't cost them anything, but it's so appealing for people. It is working together. Sorry, any other question? Did we all good? Okay, we have 8 minutes, so Becca, go. And I think Abby is next afterwards. Becca, yeah.
Awesome. So my we was talking about the personal touch, and networking is my personal nightmare. As much as I'm a people person, I find I get that real social anxiety of going up and initiating a conversation. If you come and initiate with me, happy days, I'm in my best life.
Yeah.
It quite often doesn't work like that in a networking
No,
event.
no,
You have got to be the person. So I wondered if you had any tips or strategies that you would give to help with that networking, going up and starting a random conversation to talk about what it is that you're trying to sell, whether that be with promoters, businesses, potential customers, networking events. How do we take that plunge and start that awkward conversation?
I don't know. Well, I think if you're talking, if you've seen somebody one-to-one in person, are you?
Yeah. So you say like go to networking events, and that's the best way to
I
kind
think
of
it's
meet
just
people.
like, that's just like a personal thing. Not everybody really ever wants to do it, and I hear that from artists all the time. So I don't know. Maybe it's quite difficult. I mean, I think being quite analog is quite nice. I don't know if you have a mailing list or something like that, where you can like, I remember somebody years ago when in music, he said, oh, you know, I wanted to reach out to my customers. So what I did was I did a little handwritten like letter to everyone. I always thought this was really cute, and said, hey, it's me. And it's very much like Coldplay, which I wanted to mention. Coldplay announced they were donating 10% of their upcoming tour to Music Venues Trust by advertising a poster of the Dublin Castle in 1998 or whenever they did the gig, and they crossed it out and they put 2025 world tour. You know, we were there, but it was £4 a ticket. You know, I'll come to the next one. It was really funny, and it's those little quirky things. So maybe, have you thought about just taking yourself out of the digital zone and saying, right, okay, I thought I'd send you a cookie or something weird or like funky, you know, or I don't know. I had an artist who used to make her own jewellery, and she'd do little jewellery things. You know, it's just, I don't know, find something that's real and authentic to you, because it's not authentic to you to go and talk to somebody in a networking, and don't bloody do it. That's what I would say. Find a way that is authentic to you, that you're passionate about, and talk to, and just say, and drop a line maybe, you know, and go, look, hey, you know, like, or get, maybe ask if they'll give you a poster and say, just send them a card and invite them. I don't know, just find something different that you feel you can open it's about opening a conversation is what it's about. So
when you get strange memes in your inbox from me later, this is your fault. Okay,
okay, fine. I don't mind a strange meme. I love it. People remember you, you know, and they think, okay, that is really cool. So I think you will come to you, but don't ever be authentic always, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
And last but not least, Abby, we finished with you.
Thanks so much. My just final question. Firstly, thanks for all your wisdom. It's really helpful to hear. Secondly, my final question was, do you have any recommendations of really like engaging radios, magazines, blogs that you'd recommend that do like live reviews that you'd think would be good to invite along to gigs? I found like a few that I've been trying to contact, but obviously a lot of it's shouting into the void. So I just didn't know if you had any recommendations for ones that you think are really engaging.
It's really interesting actually, because I think I posted that on the chat only a few weeks ago, because I thought to myself, because a couple of people came to a gig. I have like there's some regular music fans, and he wrote a review, and I thought, wow, that is so nice, you know, it was so beautifully written. And I thought, wow, I wonder if there's any other like sort of regular music fans who want to do that, and wouldn't that be nice for everyone? So I put that question maybe that's something that Amplify Her members could do for other people, right? Because we're all lovers of music, maybe you could go to Becca's gig and Becca could come to yours, and maybe you can all become reviewers. I don't know. I'm being quite, you know, but I think it starts like that. We have to be our own army, really. There's always another layer. There's always a music comment. There's always a promoter. There's always an agent. And I know I am a music promoter, but I do think it's about all creatives getting together and supporting each other. And I'm always so blown away when somebody takes time, you know, to review something. I don't really go around asking for reviewers, but I think it was really nice. I had got a review from Fresh on the Net, as I said, I think last week, and I was blown away that Neil, in all this time, took the time to do it. And I was like, wow, you know, that meant so much. And he's like, of course I do that for you. But sometimes I think you can't really, it's not something you can always ask, because otherwise people, if you have to ask, you have to pay for stuff and services. I think we should be trying to support each other a bit more. And maybe if anybody's got an interest in writing in this group, it would be a really good thing, wouldn't it? I think all the artists would really, really like that. So yeah, maybe that's something we could all do for each other.
Thank you.
I like that. I think that's a good, you're right. It's basically, this is the whole point of a community, is to help each other and to build on that. So then we take over, we do the way we wanted to do it, versus having other people like venues or things that are out of our control taking over us.
Yeah.
So we working together builds that, and this is what we're all about. So I think that's the best way to finish tonight, actually. Thank you.
Let's do it for ourselves. Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much, Lorraine. To one more thing, one last question before you leave. One piece of advice you would give all artists out there right now that want to get to the next step.
I really just think, I think you've got to stay don't try and be something you think the industry wants you to be and distract, like we're talking about, we want bands and you're really an acoustic artist. I think you've got to focus on what is real to you, and that makes you the strongest, most impressive version of yourself. When you know what that is, I think just refine it and perform as much as possible. I think that's really, really important. And know your worth, know your worth, be realistic about, where you need to improve, and don't be, what's the word? Don't be feel embarrassed if you get advice and critique. Take it on board and know your worth and just keep working. And see, and growth is slow. You may only pick up 2 fans in a month, but you picked up 2. That might be the same for everyone. I don't know, you're expecting, just keep working, be authentic, and choose to work with people who are like-minded. I think that's my best advice.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Thank you, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. There's one gentleman who joined us today.
Yeah, crazy.
Just coming up next, we have our coffee morning on Friday, and we have our first songwriting camp Saturday, Sunday. So very exciting. We're finishing the month, and then obviously cocktail coffee meeting next month, and an open mic on the 31st of October. So if you're around in London, please come and join. Very big thank you, Lorraine, for keeping it real.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you all, and I'll drop a note, and you're welcome to come to the gig if you want to come see Fabia. Just come on down, and I'm not here to promote a gig, but it's nice to show. I hope to, it's nice to just show what we do. And if you're around in Calm Sanctum, it's on tomorrow night, so you can come along. It'd be really cool to see you.
There you go. You have a gig to go, people to connect with, communicate, and go to a gig. They'll come to yours. That's how it works. Right? All right, ladies and gentlemen. See you soon. Have a great night. Thank you so much, Lorraine. Bye.
Thanks.